Hello guys, Tom Yone here from Coding for Youths, and welcome to my lesson on PHP. I just want to do a little lesson showing you how you can, connect to a database using PHP. So if you're looking, maybe you're thinking, how do you connect to a database and all that? We're going to be seeing that in this lesson. But before we start, we'd like to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and also like the video. Leave your comment at the comment section. I'm doing a series on Python. I think I'm in lesson number 22 right now, so we can go check those videos on Python. But in this lesson, I just want to take a little break from that and see how we can, connect to a database. So we'll be using our local server. We'll be using XAMPP for that, Apache, XAMPP, and MySQL. So I want to just talk a little bit about MySQL. Now, I want to let you know that with PHP, you can connect and also manipulate a database. So MySQL is one of the most popular database systems that you can use with PHP. Now, of course, there are a lot of advantages why you want to use MySQL. It's very easy using it on the web, and it runs on the server. It's ideal for both small and large applications. It's very fast and reliable. Okay, it uses a standard SQL language. So I will instead of me saying MySQL, starting from now I'll be saying MySQL. It's actually a cross-platform database. You can use it on different platforms. It's also free to download. Okay, this is actually developed and distributed by Oracle Corporation. Okay, so now let's see how we can do this. So I have already set up a local server on my PC. Here we can see my Apache server is running. My SQL server is also running on port 33006. So I'm going to test this. I'll just go to my local server. I can use local server, local host, and if I click on it, of course, this is my Apache dashboard. Using my PHP my admin application, I will see all the database that we have. Okay, these are the database that I have. So I'm going to connect to this server, and I'll show you how you can, create another database using a SQL statement. So this is what we have currently. So let's start. Let's jump into. I'm going to be using, first of all, you want to set up a user that you want to use on the server. So I'm going to use the normal default user with a server name called, this is going to be the server name. I'll be using localhost for the server name, and then root as the username. Of course, the default doesn't have a password, so let's jump into our text editor. So the first thing I need to do, I'm going to create a file on my XAMPP server. So I'll open a folder, and I will go to my XAMPP, go to my htdocs, and then I'll just create a new folder here. I'll call this MySQL app. Okay, that's going to be the name of my application. So I'm going to open this. Okay, so of course PHP actually runs with HTML and CSS. So we'll be using HTML. So let's create a file. We'll call this index.php, and then I will just do my normal HTML. Let me do doc type HTML, and then I'll have my HTML here. Okay, I'll have my head. Let me just have my meta character set. I'll call this UTF-8. I will also have a meta, my viewports. And my contents is going to be width equal to device width, initial scale equal to 1.0, and I'll have my title. I'll just call this PHP SQL Connection. Okay, so I have my body here, and in between my body, let me just have a little bit of style here. Okay, and I just want to style my body, so I want to center everything, text align. Okay, so I'll come to my body here. Let me just have a div. I'll leave that. Let's use this gap. Alright, so here I'll have my PHP. Just want to put my PHP here. So in between this PHP code, this is where we're going to be writing our PHP code. Before I move further, I just want to talk a little bit about having PHP MySQL database system. We'll talk about query, and query is like when we question the requests from the server. You know that PHP is actually a server-side scripting language. Okay, so we'll be using SQL statements in combination with our PHP code. Okay, so this will actually work together. Now, of course, we can download a SQL server. I think we have a workbench if you want to actually write on a SQL without PHP. But this particular lesson is about how we can connect to a database using PHP code. Okay, so we'll be looking at the MySQL improved extension of our PHP, and this is going to be an object-oriented. We'll be using the object-oriented method. We'll create a connection, and create a new object and assign it to a variable, and then we can now get all the functions and the method from that object. Okay, so now let's use the first method. The first method I'm going to be using for this connection is going to be we'll be using the object oriented method, which is going to be like this. So let me just put a comment. I'll be using MySQL. Okay, object oriented. Okay, so this is the one we'll be using. So the first thing we're going to do first, we need to create a variable and assign the server name to it. So I'll call this server name, and then of course we know that the server name was localhost, so I'll just say localhost, and we'll also assign the username to another variable called this username. So this is equal to like I told you, this is going to be root, so use root, and then another variable called password, to assign a password to it. Of course, this is going to be empty because the default doesn't have there's no password set to it. So at this point, we're going to use the improved SQL extension of our PHP to check if this server exists or this user exists on this server. So to do that, I'm going to create a connection by creating a new object and assign that object to a variable, so we can get access to all the functions and the method. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'll create a new variable. I'll call this variable connect, and then I will create a new object called MySQL. Okay, and then this will take 3 parameters. So the first one is going to be the server name, which we have already created. The second one is going to be the username, which we have here, and then we have the password, since we just want to connect to the server to check if the server is actually active. If we have already created a database, we also have a fourth parameter. Okay, all right, so now we have created an object called connect. So let's check if we say use an if statement. Will say if connects, we'll check if the connection is false. We want to output an error, so we say connect error. This is part of the object. Okay, we say we want to kill the server if it doesn't exist, so we say die, or destroy the server rather. We say die, we say connection failed, and then we want to output the error. So we say connect connection error. So we say connect error. I hope I typed. Okay, connect error. All right, so however, if the connection was successful, we want to output and say connection successful. So we'll do that into a h1 tag. We'll say connection successful. And then we'll close the tag. right. So let's see, we're going to run this now on the server. So I'm going to save this and go back to my browser, and I'll come here and I'll run the server, the local server 0.0.1, and we are trying to record this. What was the name we call this again? Our HTTP docs. Let's go back to our this was called MySQL app. All right, so let's go back. MySQL app. Let's run this. So we have connection successful, undefined property, connection error in line 24. All right, so let's use okay, I think this is also, this is absolutely depleted. So I'll be using the MySQL connects function. So instead of that, I will say MySQL connects error function, and I will also come here and do the same. So I have MySQL connects error function. So now let's go back to the browser. Fresh uncut error code to undefined function MySQL error connects. Here's the error coming from now. MySQL connects, of course, spelling is correct. MySQL improves like this. Sorry. Let's go back and refresh. Of course, our connection was successful. So you can see that the connection is actually successful using this method, the object-oriented and improved MySQL connection function. Okay, so this is how we check and connect, also connect to the server. Now I'm going to show you a second method using PHP object, data object, PDO, and after that we'll see how we can create a database from here after the connection has been established. So I'm going to, let me just comment this out and come here. So the second method, okay, I will need this. I'll need these variables. The second method I'm going to show you is how you can use the PHP data object. There's PDO. So let's see how we can do that. So we'll be using a try catch error handling method. So we say try, and then we create a new object, and that new object we're going to assign it to a variable called connects like this, and then we say this is equal to new PDO. We'll say MySQL MySQL, then we check the hosts, and this will be equal to a server name that we have created. So we have our server name, and then we also have the okay, we have the server name now. We also have the username. The username is going to be inside here, so we'll say username, and then we have our password. Okay, then the next thing we need to do, so we're going to check, set this, we're going to set the PDO error mode to exception. So we say connect like this. So we say set attributes, and then we have our PDO attribute to error mode, and PDO error mode exception. Okay, so we echo if there was no error, we echo we say connected successfully. Okay, and if there was an error, want to cache it, we say cache, and then we have PDO exception to the error. We say we echo connection failed, right? And then we want to output the error, which we assign to this variable. She gets message. Alright, so we'll save this. Let's go to our browser, refresh. So our connection was successful. We didn't get any error. So this is actually the second method. So you choose the one you want to go with, the improved MySQL or the PHP data objects. So I will just show you how you can actually create a database after you have connected to establish a successful connection to the server. So we're going to be using some SQL statements to create a database using the query function that will go from our objects that we created. So let's look at that briefly before we end this lesson. So I will just comment out of this and then go back to what we had here before using the improved MySQL. So now that the connection has been established, we can actually leave everything like this. But the next thing we're going to do now, let's see how we can create a database. So we are going to use this connection that we've established, and then we'll create a database. So the next thing we need to do if we want to create a database now is to get this query function from the connect object and use that to execute our SQL on the server. Okay, so I can, if you want to create a database, the SQL statement is create database, right? And then the name of the database, DB name. Okay, so this is the statement we are going to be using, the SQL statement we are going to be using to create our database. So let's do that quickly. I'm going to assign that to a SQL, a variable. I'll just call it I'll call it SQL, and then I'll assign the create. This could be lowercase, it's not compulsory, it's uppercase, create database, and then I'll call this database my SQL example DB. Right, so now that I have assigned that to a variable, I will now use an if statement to check if I can actually tap into my object, connect that we created, and then get the query from it, the query function, and use it to execute my SQL statement on the server. So I'll say MySQL. All right, and if this is true, then we know that the database was created. So we say echo database created successfully. Okay, however, if the database was not created, we have an S here, and then we want to echo error creating database. Okay, and then we want to display the error. So say connect error. This will not work again, so we're going to use the MySQL improved MySQL connect error function. So all right, so let's check, let's run this and see. So we say on cut error, cut undefined function, my query. This is supposed to be query like this. Just have to be careful when you're typing. So we see that database created successfully. Database created successfully. If we go back to the back end, the name of the database, we called it MySQL Database Example. So let's refresh to see if the database was created. Of course, you can see now that this database was actually created. This is the database. Okay, so that's how you connect to your server, whether it's a local server or maybe an hosted server. You can do this on your shared server. You remember that PHP is actually a very a cross-platform scripting language, and virtually on all the web server is acceptable. You can do the same thing on your hosts. You can achieve a lot with this. So I would like to, this is actually a very short video to show you, to demonstrate to you how you can actually connect to a server using PHP. So we have the server name, username, the password. Of course, you might want to set password for a user that you want to grant access to your server. And of course, the database is actually a secret, thing that you want to protect. So we created an object, and assign it to the connect variable, and then from there we're able to create our database. And from here you can execute any SQL statement or SQL commands on your server. The moment you have established, because we know the SQL commands are actually executed on a server. So we use XAMPP for this example. So this is where we're going to have we're going to end our lesson now. I want to thank you guys for sticking to this channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also like the video and leave your comment at the comment section. Have a great day.